r/AskReddit by Reddit Stories. What is something socially acceptable today that might get banned in the next 100 years? Wearing a mask in a bank. So you're saying quarantine will be over by 2120? Bold. Ugh. I work in a bank. It's legitimately stressing a lot of colleagues out that it has become significantly harder to follow anti-robbery precautions. There probably won't be physical banks where you can get cash by then anyway. Major viruses seem to happen every 100 years or so. The Spanish flu was in 1919 and COVID-19 began in 2019/2020. I predict that another will happen around 100 years from now. Work in a bank. It's weird to see people walk in all covered up. But it's already becoming so normal. Not sure there's going to be banks in 100 years. I was going to say driving a car without computer assistance, but that's pretty good. Number is something like 30K per year die. That's almost half a coronavirus pandemic. A bank will not be a physical place in a 100 years, at least not a place you visit. I live in Sweden and have barely touched any cash the last 5 to 7 years. Pretty sure person tracking can deal with it by then. In 100 years no one will be walking into a bank. Everything will be done online, or whatever the next online will be. Banks won't have paper money by then anyway. Bold of you to assume humanity will survive till 2120. Yeah, it should have limits right now. It's too easy for fraud and impersonators to wear a mask because of coronavirus and pretend to be someone else. Photo ID is nearly useless when half of your face is covered. Especially if they already have some your other details fished out of your trash can or something else. The physical banks may not exist by then. Not wearing a mask in a bank. In my country it is illegal to wear masks when in groups of 3 or more people, mostly because it interferes with the facial recognition cameras. This law has been upheld for the whole virus crisis. Luckily we have had very few cases of the virus here. The medical authorities and High Court are against the mask ban. The police and government support the mask ban. It has been a problem for ages. Haha, there will be no banks. There gonna be no banks in 100 years. I didn't know people still go in banks. Physically going to a bank? Expecting it to be anything there to steal? Face recognition is already advanced enough to identify people in hats, with sunglasses and so on. Your prediction is more accurate how it will be in 5 years. Are physical banks still gonna be a thing? By then physical cash might be mostly obliterated. Can't forget your firearm, of course. It's even weirder that I wear a mask when I go to the gun store. And carry. Mask and conceal carry is fun and legal in my state. Going to work sick. Especially now. There's no way that it should be allowed to force your employees to come to work while suffering with an illness that could be spread to other employees. One can hope. For many, not going into work sick means being fired. It's incredible to me how many otherwise intelligent people will say things like, suck it up and take some cold medicine and go in, wimps, or I'm not letting my kids stay home from school. They are 100% not thinking about their effect on other people. I have a friend who is an ER doctor who has said stuff like this. The last people who need to be picking up whatever F***ing crud she has are people sick enough to be in the ER already. I'm skeptical that pressure from bosses will go away in the next 100 years in the United States. Hard work is a value ingrained in our society to a fault, and a lot would have to happen to change that. In some countries going to work sick isn't really a thing. It already is in the food industry. It simply isn't enforced, and the workers don't have paid sick leave anyways. So yeah, y'all eating fast food sprinkled with saliva and shit from sick people, which includes coronaviruses. And now I'm hoping it'll be more encouraged to be able to work from home even if we're only feeling a little under the weather. Well, in Germany this is already banned, more or less. Well, this one is a thing 'cause Americans couldn't care less if these essential workers drop dead. As long as someone replaces their labor then no one cares. Until paid sick leave is a law, this will never happen. And even then, without unions, real ones, not ones with corrupted leadership, even then that will get overturned in a decade. Yeah, I know. It's awful that this is even legal. I live in the US, and my boyfriend's mother has a compromised immune system, but was still required to work. She even had a scare that she had COVID-19, that was poorly worded, and only then was she allowed to not work. It's absolutely disgusting that this is allowed. Sad face, it was mostly just wishful thinking. Yeah, no. No, it can happen. But we've got to stop voting in right-wing bastards in, both the Republicans and the right-wing bastards who are currently running the Democratic Party. A few senators introduced a bill for paid sick leave not long ago. We can do it, but we have to stop falling for crap like picking the most electable, which always seems to mean the most conservative, and start actually voting for whoever we like the most. We have had a work from home option for as long as I can remember. We have paid sick days. People still come to work sick, saying things like I can't be productive at home or I need to get out of the house. It's beyond me how this is tolerated by management. Stay home. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to hear you coughing and sniffling all day either. Thousands of years of plagues and pandemics, and this has never changed. I doubt it. I think people will forget about this in 5 years. I was literally fired from my job at McDonald's when I was 17 because I called to tell them I was sick and they said I can't call in sick on a payday weekend. What does that even mean? Me getting paid on a Friday doesn't change how sick I am Sunday. I got reprimanded a week or so ago for calling out sick. So who knows? My nephew talks about this part-time lecturer who comes into his college class full of cold because she won't get paid if she doesn't come in. Every time at least 2 students catch it. That's already forbidden in civilized countries. You're right, it shouldn't be allowed, but it will. It will still happen. Hell, I live in one of those socialist countries and still get bitched at if I take a sick day. And then you have those who just want to work enough to keep their drug habit afloat and make life miserable for their unaddicted fellow employees. In my industry, taking a spur-of-the-moment day off could mean all of my projects fall behind and I'll be scrambling for days to make up the time, so people tend to come in unless they're actually too sick to work. But hopefully after this pandemic it'll be much more acceptable to at least work from home when you're sick. I live in Canada, and you're supposed to take the day off if you're sick. Technically it isn't allowed now. It's just oversight is non-existent, and as a result people have to choose between keeping their gainful employment or doing what's best for their own and others' health. Capitalism is a broken system. I'm sorry, they do. Everyone should get sick leave. That is only a US thing. I imagine that working from home is going to become an accepted norm, and office/call center type employers will be a lot more flexible about letting an employee choose where to work from. Especially since companies are currently discovering how easy this is to accomplish with modern online technology. Got someone at my work coming in sick this week. She tested negative for COVID, so they told her she was free to come back as soon as she didn't have fever for 24 hours. She's out of PTO, so she's back at work insisting she's fine but coughs a lot and eating Tylenol like gumdrops. Edit, I should add this is very much poverty related. She's the only person in her house who has a stable job. She's wearing a mask, keeping her distance, washing hands frequently, and wearing gloves. Still. WTH. They had best start giving more paid sick days then. We were told before Corona to not come in if sick/have flu-like symptoms, but you get so much flack if you call in. You don't sound sick. Sorry, I'll get a thermometer that can read my temp to you over the phone. Even now, where I work, if you have even a hint of a corona symptom unrelated to the virus, you are up for 14 days unpaid. Nice. Okay, so this is something I see on Reddit a lot. My boss has never gotten pissed because someone stayed home sick. I work in a female-dominated baited field and lots of people stay home with their kids too. No big deal. That said, I totally get many illnesses require staying home: fever, intense cough, any vomiting, migraine, etc. But do some people seriously stay home if they have a minor cold? If I stayed home with a minor cold, it repulsive multiple times a year, several days each incidence. I worked at Logan's Roadhouse and quit the day before Valentine's Day. Let me add, they fired everyone when lockdown started. Didn't keep to-go orders going, fired everyone except managers so they didn't have to pay the other employees. They still had to pay 15% of unemployment. We were forced to work every holiday, rather late too, and in my manager's words, unless you're dying. My one good manager transferred to another restaurant, but she never kept me if I looked bad. But after she left, even if I was vomiting multiple times on shift or physically weak or injured or legitimately sick in any way, I had to stay. I had legitimate internal bleeding, TMI, rectal, and another one of my managers said it was just my period. It was not. But I had to stay, still bleeding and in pain. Next night my good manager is there and sends me to the hospital. Doesn't keep me to do cut work, just sent me. I miss her. But the day I quit, I admit I wasn't great for not giving a 2 weeks notice, but given my circumstances, I couldn't. I was told, exact words again, by manager, "Wow, cool, you screwed us over." And I left. Other problems: didn't get paid for the first month I was there, a few stuck-up entitled co-workers that forced me off my assigned job when I had an injury, told not to work together after being told I could at my interview, tried to change my schedule for school when I needed to but was denied, also promised at interview, held paychecks on holidays, did nothing about co-workers that got multiple complaints, prob more. Nowadays, due to COVID-19, I'm sure some of that seems absurd. I would like to believe that, but it's unlikely to happen because there's a possibility that people would take advantage of it to take PTO when in reality they're not sick. Of course they'll realize after a while that it's stupid to use PTO just to avoid work, because when they actually do get sick, they might not have PTO for that reason. I think in 100 years there will be next to no illnesses. Unless the company makes their employees bring in a doctor's note, then employees can abuse this to get out of going to work. But if it's something as usual as a common cold, no one goes to the clinic for that. The way we willingly share our information online. Eventually the pendulum is going to swing to the other side and we are going to limit what companies take from us. Granted, I do feel like this change is not going to come out of goodwill, but it's going to happen nonetheless. Part of it stems, at least in my opinion, from the fact that humans have no inherent inherited/handed down societal traits regarding online behavior. We all learn social cues on behaving in public, fear of unsafe streets or locations/strangers from our parents or our community at large, but there isn't any parallel for online behavior. Most adults would lock the house before going out, because we know inherently that's the safe thing to do, but not many would do the online equivalent of digital safety when we log in, because perhaps the digital societal cues, if I can call it that, doesn't exist yet, perhaps because the internet is so novel. I presume the exact opposite. It'll be so absolutely integrated in every part of life that it'll be impossible to comprehend a world without it. It basically already is. What makes you think corporations will just magically stop collecting data for their services? When and how do you see that happening? Multi-level marketing. They should really be illegal already. Pyramid schemes are illegal, at least in the UK, and the only difference is that MLMs claim to be about sales. They're not though. The stuff they sell is so overpriced that no one sane would buy it. The sales bit is only there to argue they aren't a pyramid scheme. Which they are. I really hope they get banned soon. They often appeal to people with money troubles and make their problems worse. We can only hope. I agree. But on an unrelated note, I have a business opportunity for anyone who is interested. You will be your own boss and choose your own hours. Message me if you are ready to be an entrepreneur. John Oliver? Let's fucking hope. Whatever happened to Nerium anyways? Those salespeople were interesting. One can only hope. You mean reverse funnel system? Every fucking thread. Met. It's kind of financial natural selection. We should just make sure people know they are a scam, and if enough people are educated about it, they won't be able to survive. Just because you're stupid and / or vulnerable doesn't mean you should be allowed to have a super rich charlatan trick you out of your money. Any commercial directed towards children under the age of 12. This is already in practice in a few European countries. Wait, so can you not advertise toys at all? Yes. I hate the way they advertise to kids. In Canada too. You can't advertise toward any minor, period. YouTube already makes changes in its politic. Half of the year ago YouTube banned advertising on children channels. I'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed.